Cool. So welcome to my talk. Today I want to talk about platform teams and how they can help you with developer experience. So at productboard, we are huge geeks in developer experience because we believe that having great developer experience not only will make your engineers more productive and happy, but it as well will help you hire great engineers and retain them as well. And that's super important in today's market. And so we're trying to figure out how to make sure that we are investing into repaying our technical debt, how to make sure that we are keeping our code base up to date, and we are building tools that everybody can be as productive as possible. So we definitely didn't want to be those two guys on the right. And so early on, what we've done is that we've worked in those 8-week cycles at productboard. And so always the first 6 weeks, we would focus on different different product initiatives. We would always pick some customer problem that the team would focus on, and we would work for the whole 6 weeks to fix it. And then at the end, we would take another 2 weeks for something we called cleanup periods. And those cleanup periods were really about repaying this technical debt. And so at the beginning, we would always gather all the engineers. Back then, we had just 8, 10 engineers, so we would gather everybody into one room, and we would talk about what are the problems we are currently seeing that are preventing us to be productive. And we would everybody would kind of pitch their idea, and we would pair up on those that felt the most pressing, and we would try to get that done within those 2 weeks. And it was pretty good at the beginning, especially we liked that this really allowed us to create this culture of shared ownership for the code base, that everybody was involved in making sure that the code base is in a great shape. But then we started to hire more engineers, and especially on front end. Our front end application is quite ambitious, quite big, and so we needed more people to help with that. And suddenly, within a year, we almost tripled our front end engineering. And suddenly, with 30 people, you cannot just gather everybody in the room and have a productive conversation what to fix next. And so then we are trying to figure out, okay, we'll need to have some higher level governance, some process that will help you figure out what to focus on next. And so first thing we started and tested was establishing a guild, a front-end guild, which is a concept from the Spotify model. Basically, it's kind of like a work group. People from different teams across the product engineering will gather once a week, once every 2 weeks, and they will talk about those problems. I will try to figure out what's the biggest problem we should be focusing on. And it was pretty awesome at the beginning, but the problem we've seen was that actually it was quite distracting for everybody, because suddenly people were in different work groups, different guilds, and it was taking them quite a lot of time from their actual normal day-to-day work and normal product priorities. And we realized that what we actually have to do is to create a dedicated group of people that will be focusing solely on this developer experience and making sure that we have the architecture and stack in the best shape. And so that's why we are starting to think about, hey, what if we would actually create a platform team? So platform teams in general are teams dedicated on not shipping features for customers, but shipping just features for your engineers to make sure they are productive. And that is something that seems like a great concept, but we were quite afraid that we'll actually create a silo, right? Because what are the things that those engineers can be working on? They can be working on shared libraries. They can be working on your UI kit and making sure that your dependencies are up to date. But the problem we've seen in this approach, and different other companies struggle with, was that when they are detached from your product engineering teams, suddenly they no longer have a good sense of what the actual problems are, and they can start create their own problems to fix and polish architecture and invest into things that don't actually matter that much. And at the same time, we were afraid that we will kind of damage and destroy this culture of shared ownership, because on the other hand, our product engineers will feel that it's no longer their job to improve our stack. It's no longer their job to help and fix the technical debt. And it's something that the platform team should be responsible for. And this is something you can, you might know from infrastructure engineering, where, historically, when you would have separated the operations for your servers and product teams, there was a lot of friction between those two. And so that's why even there's this concept of DevOps, which is a culture and philosophy of having a shared ownership of, of the deployments and operations. And so there was an idea that we really wanted to instill in our front-end platform team and make sure that, we are not destroying this culture. And that's why we realized that actually, having the team or the primary goal of the front-end platform team should be around communication, and it should be around promoting good culture, good engineering culture. It's more than actually shipping more lines of code. So there are a couple of areas that we focus on. One of them was providing visibility and actionable data into what's actually working and what isn't. And so we started with defining a couple of metrics, right? So some metrics were around the actual developer experience, things like how quickly your application compiles, how fast are different steps of your CI pipeline, things like how quickly your PRs get merged, or different adoption metrics. Let's say you are adopting TypeScript from JavaScript, and you want to keep track how big of how big part of your code base is on TypeScript already, and whether you should be investing more time into that. And then we defined some UX metrics as well, especially around performance. So let's say how quickly your app boots, how big is the bundle, how big is the payload, just to make sure that when your front-end engineers are shipping new features for your customers, they will always will get this feedback if they are making changes that will decrease the performance or decrease the developer experience. And so with that, we created a bunch of dashboards to make sure that everybody will have constantly the data in front of their eyes. And we use a couple of tools for that. One is Looker. So Looker is great for more complex analysis. In our case, we are using it for front-end performance, because that's something that allows us to slice quite nicely through different segments of customers, different browsers, different connections and stuff like that. And then we are using Honeycomb, which is a great tool for simpler analysis because it's real time. So for example, in our case, we are tracking build times across different Git branches to see if somebody is introducing something that's decreasing the build performance. And the third thing we've done was that we picked a couple of those metrics and we started to push them directly into GitHub to make sure that when you are actually creating a PR and adding some new code, you immediately see that, oh, now the bundle is much bigger. It's something I should be aware of, and maybe I should use different library. So that was great. That really helped us make sure that every engineer, when they're shipping new features, they are constantly thinking about both user experience and developer experience, and any degradation of either, it's not going to get unnoticed. But not everything can be quantifiable with metrics. So another tremendous help we got from our front-end platform team is just to make sure that all the technical debt is documented and is somewhere noted. For example, in our case, we are using productboard for it. You can use, of course, something else, Jira or Trello or anything that works for you. But that as well created good visibility into the problems we have and allowed us to prioritize much better as well, with the combination with the data we had. And so that was first part, just to make sure that every engineer across your whole organization understands what problems you currently have. And the second area that we focus on was on facilitating good discussion and creating alignment, because we had quite a lot of good ideas from engineers across the organization. But what was hard for them to actually get feedback on those ideas, how to improve the code base, and get to some decision, especially if the engineer was fairly new to the organization. It was confusing for them what they should be doing and how to get kind of approval for their ideas. And so we established together with the front-end platform team more formal RFC process, which is a process how to gather feedback and make decision on your ideas. We took inspiration from different open source projects, for example, React Native, Rust, or Ember.js. If you are interested about the details, you can definitely look them up. And so that was something that described actually every engineer how they can be involved in improving our code base. And there was a couple of things that we had to solve. So first is how to write great technical proposal. Dilbert definitely can help, but in our case, it was about two things. One was great template, so what are the areas you should really explain in order that everybody can get the context and provide valuable feedback. And then, the front-end platform team can, in this step, act as consultants and can help you craft that in a way that is really understandable. Second is how to gather then the feedback for your proposal efficiently. Many things can go wrong, but the problem we had was that people would create proposal and nobody would respond, and they would stall for weeks or even months. And again, the front-end platform team took an initiative to help with this. And we've done two things. One was we always are trying to set the deadline. So let's say if it's a mid-size change, it might be something like 2 weeks, and we could always say, hey, we have 2 weeks for everybody to give us feedback, and after those 2 weeks, we'll be making decisions. But a second, even more important part is to make sure that people actually know that this is open RFC, and there's something to comment. And so our front-end platform team helps a lot with just making sure everybody knows. So broadcasting during our engineering all hands on Slack, and chasing people to get the feedback, and that helped us to make this process much faster. And then the last thing is actually how to make the decision. Right, because there can be a lot of bike shedding, a lot of meaningful discussions, a lot of meaningless discussions about things that actually don't matter that much. And so the front-end platform team has the authority to actually make a decision, cut even the discussion short, and move on. And then last thing is keeping everybody educated. It's awesome if you decide to adopt this new framework. Maybe you decide to adopt Cypress or TypeScript. But when people don't know about it or they don't know how to use it, it's kind of pointless. And so that's third area that the front-end platform team is helping tremendously. And so we have internal weekly changelog just to make sure that everybody is in the loop and they know what's coming, what's being merged into the code base, all new bells and whistles. But then it's more about, OK, we are already using Cypress, so how to use it well. And so they started to organize a lot of different internal meetups, workshops, where they explain how those new libraries are going to help us and how to actually use them. Right? So how to make sure we are using all the best practices from TypeScript. And then additionally, they have dedicated time for pair programming, around 20% of their time, so they can help anybody ad hoc as needed to make sure that everything is being used and adopted as we would like to. And so those were the three things that we focused on, and it allowed us to use our the front-end platform team in a way that actually doesn't destroy the culture of shared ownership. And I think for us this was an awesome experience because now we know that we are improving our code base as we grow. We currently have over 300,000 lines of code on front end that might be changing sometimes to introduce new changes, but still we are quite fast at it. But at the same time, in a way that you don't actually have to be part of the front-end platform team to be part of the innovation that's happening. Everybody can contribute and everybody can help. And what's great is as well that we have just 2 people in the front-end platform team. It doesn't have to be too big, so you don't have to suddenly dedicate too many people for non-product priorities. So for us, that was pretty good experience. And that's it. Thank you.